17 suitcases, 17,017 names, Ibrahim. Traore looked at the list he had placed. On the table, all of this is money. Earned from our gold, he said. Everyone at the airport was watching silently. The VIP section of Ouagadougou Airport had never been this tense. It was midnight outside Africa's starry sky. Inside, witnesses to an event that would change history. Normally at this hour, the airport would be nearly empty, just security guards on night shift, 1 or 2 cleaning staff, and perhaps a few passengers waiting for a delayed flight. But tonight was different. Ibrahim Traoré's special security team had taken control of every corner of the airport. Red beret soldiers had taken positions at strategic points. The French diplomatic plane on the runway was surrounded by armored vehicles. The plane's engines were still running, the pilots still waiting for takeoff clearance, but that clearance would never come. The VIP lounge windows were fogged with condensation. The tension inside contrasted with the cold night air outside. Gathered around the long, polished table were Burkina Faso's young leader Ibrahim Traoré, intelligence chief Colonel Ouagadougou Cabaret, airport director Ousmane Ndio, Justice Minister Aminata Traoré, and of course the night's main actor, French Ambassador Jacques Dubois. Sweat dripped from Dubois's forehead down to his collar. His expensive suit was soaked with perspiration. His hands trembled slightly, and he kept changing position to hide it. Mr. President, he began, trying to control his voice. This must be a misunderstanding. Diplomatic immunity under international law. Traoré raised his hand, silencing him. There was not anger but disappointment in his eyes. Immunity, Ambassador, he said in a calm but firm voice. I not a shield to be used for stealing our country's wealth. A diplomatic passport is not sufficient for committing theft. Caber opened the thick file on the table. He pulled out photographs, images from airport security cameras. 47 p.m. He began reading. 3 vehicles from the French embassy enter the airport. 11:15 p.m. These 17 suitcases are loaded onto the plane. 11:38 p.m. You arrive at the VIP lounge. 11:45 p.m. The plane requests takeoff clearance. These are diplomatic cargo. Dubois protested under the Vienna Convention. The Vienna Convention, Justice Minister Aminata interrupted, also states that diplomatic cargo must not contain weapons, drugs, or illegal materials. What's in these suitcases? Ambassador Dubois fell silent. His eyes darted toward the door, perhaps looking for an escape route, but 2 soldiers stood at the door. There was no escape. Open them, said Traoré. 1 word, but the weight of that word filled the entire room. 2 soldiers lifted the first suitcase onto the table. It was black, sturdy looking. It had diplomatic seals on it. Cab or photographed each seal. Evidence, he said, so no one can deny it. The suitcase lock was opened. The lid was slowly raised. When the contents became visible, airport director Dio involuntarily whistled. My God, he murmured. The suitcase was filled to the brim with money, Eurobank notes arranged in neat stacks. Each stack was wrapped with bands. They bore the seals of the French central bank. Caber put on his gloves and took 1 stack. €100 notes, 10,000 euros in each stack. Total, he counted quickly, exactly €1 million. But this is just the beginning, said Traoré. He opened the side compartment of the suitcase. Gold bars came out, each stamped with Burkina Faso's mark. These are our gold from our country's mines, the product of our people's labor. Dubois's face had turned ashen. I don't know about these embassy personnel acting on their own. Don't lie, said Aminata harshly. Look, each bar has a date, all extracted within the last month and all left with export records. But who received the payment? The second suitcase was opened. This time documents came out. Hundreds of pages. Caber checked the documents with his UV light. These are originals, he said in amazement. Not photocopies, original state documents. Traore began examining the documents. His face grew more serious with each page he read. Mining maps, he said. Gold reserves not yet announced to the public. Uranium deposits even he paused. Even our newly discovered oil fields. This information is ultra-secret, said Kabor. Only 5 people know you, me, the energy minister, the chief of staff. And he stopped. His eyes caught on a name on the list, and geology director Pascal Ouagadougou Traoré completed. So he's been bought. Airport director Dio asked curiously, how valuable is this information? Aminata answered, if foreign companies learn this information in advance, they can position themselves before tenders. They can buy land. They can make agreements with local companies. They can gain billions of dollars in advantage. As the third suitcase was opened, Du Bois tried to stand. I need to use the restroom, he said. Sit down, said Traoré. His tone hadn't changed, but the steel will within was palpable. We're just getting started. Photographs came out of the third suitcase, hundreds of photographs. Cabaret began spreading the photos on the table. Each told a different story. Minister Sadu at a nightclub in Paris, he said, showing the first photo. Who's with him? French arms dealers. General Cow at a bank in Geneva, he continued. What's that briefcase in his hand? Money. Governor Zongrana's wife. Shopping in Paris. Who's paying the bill? A French mining company. The photographs seemed endless. Each had been carefully taken. Dates, times, locations were noted. A professional surveillance and blackmail operation. What were you going to do with these? Traoré asked Du Bois. Blackmail. Du Bois didn't answer. He couldn't, because the answer was too obvious. When the fourth suitcase was opened, Kabor stepped back. Weapons, he said. Be careful. The suitcase was full of state-of-the-art spy equipment, listening devices of all sizes, camera systems so small they could fit inside a button, drones the size of birds, signal jammers, frequency scanners. These aren't ordinary equipment, said Cabaret, examining a device. Look, it has the NSA logo. This is American intelligence equipment. How did it get to France? NATO said. True technology sharing among allies, but the place of use is Africa's independent countries. The fifth suitcase contained identities, dozens of fake IDs, passports, driver's licenses, diplomatic cards, all in different names, but the photos belonged to the same people. I recognize this face, said Dio, showing a passport. He came last month as a human rights observer. This one was with us last week, said Aminata, showing another ID. As a journalist, he interviewed Minister Sadu. Same person, said Kabor, but 3 different identities. Jean-Pierre, Martin, François Du Bois, Michel Bernard, all different professions, different countries. Traoré stood and walked to the window outside. He looked at the planes still waiting on the runway. How many years have you been playing this game? He asked Du Bois. With his back turned, Du Bois continued his silence. How many years have you been sending spies to our country? How many years have you been controlling our leaders with blackmail? How many years have you been stealing our gold, our uranium, and now our oil? When the 6th suitcase was opened, the silence deepened. Further inside were Burkina Faso armies, most secret documents, deployment plans, weapons inventory, personnel lists, weak points. This information is in the general staff's safe, said Kabor in shock. Only 3 people can access it, said Traoré. You forgot cleaning Lady Miriam. She's been working there for 20 years. Nobody pays attention to her, but she sees everything, hears everything. Miriam. Kabor couldn't believe it. That old woman. Don't be fooled by appearances, said Traoré. The best spies are those who arouse the least suspicion. The 7th suitcase was full of money, but this time there were different currencies: dollars, euros, pounds, even Chinese yuan. Bribery fun, said Aminata. Payment in whatever currency. Everyone wants. The 8th suitcase contained luxury items, expensive watches, jewelry, electronic devices. Each had small cards on them. Dear Minister Traoré, a small gift. Cababor, read for General Kvandos. Valued wife graduation gift for governor. Zongrana son, they're buying families. 2, said Aminata with disgust, not just officials but their wives. Children. When the 9th suitcase was opened, Kaber dropped the papers in his hand. This is impossible. Inside were documents related to Traore's private life, photographs, audio recordings, even medical reports. My last checkup results, said Traore. Taking the documents, only my doctor and I knew. Look, said Kababori, showing another document, transcripts of your private security meetings word for word. Traore examined the documents. Date: last Tuesday, time 3:00 p.m. Location: secure room, participants, MIU defense minister, subject: closure of French bases. We swept that room like crazy, said Cabaret. Impossible, there can't be a listening device. Maybe there's no device, said Trey, but there's a person. Everyone looked at each other. Only 3 people had entered the secure room, and all 3 were in this room, unless the defense minister, said Kababor slowly. He didn't come to that meeting, he was sick. No, said Traoré, he came, but only for 5 minutes. He left saying there was an urgent call. Do you remember? Kabor remembered. Yes, about the arms shipment. From France. From France, Tro repeated. What a coincidence. The 10th suitcase contains scientific reports, geological research, soil analyses, water resource maps. These are state secrets, said Aminata. Reports our universities and research centers worked years to prepare. And now French companies will use these to make us offers, said Traore, as if they discovered them themselves. The 11th suitcase was full of propaganda materials, brochures, posters, prepared videos, a new future for Burkina Faso. Kababor read. Leader General Lauren. Compare, said Traoré. Thoughtfully, we thought he died in the 2019 coup attempt. Apparently he's alive, said Kaber, and the French have been hiding him. Look at the videos, said Aminata. Professional production. Expensive equipment, impossible to film. These in Burkina Faso, filmed in Paris, said Traore, examining the video. Background, you can see the top of the Eiffel Tower. They're the 12th suitcase. Contained chemicals, small bottles, powder, packets, capsules. Were these? Asked Dio. Kaber took one and examined his face. Pal poison, all different types of poisons, odorless, tasteless, leaves no trace. He read the labels. Simulates heart attack, mimics stroke, appears like food poisoning. Assassination kit, said Trey. Who are you going to kill with these? Ambassador Du Bois finally spoke. I'm just a courier. I don't know what these are. You don't know, said Traore, but you loaded 17 suitcases yourself. Security cameras show you when the 13th suitcase was opened. A technology expert was urgently called. It was full of hard drives, USB drives, and CDs. Technology expert Abdul lay, after a few minutes of examination, raised his head. Mr. President, these are copies of our entire digital infrastructure. What do you mean? Asked Aminata. Our government systems, our banking network, our telecommunications infrastructure, everything is backed up here with passwords. So asked Dio. So said Abdul, whoever has these can paralyze the entire country. They can stop banks, cut communications, even disable the power grid. Cyber warfare weapons, said Traoré. Now they fight not with tanks and planes, but with computers. The 14th suitcase contained oil and gas agreements, drafts, contracts, signature pages. Look at this clause, said Aminata, showing a contract. 80% of all oil and gas found will belong to the French company. Burkina Faso will only get 20%, and here, added Kababor, 50-year concession. They'll exploit our oil for half a century. The worst part, said Traoré, showing the signature page. Here's my fake signature, a perfect forgery. The 15th suitcase contained lists of names, hundreds, thousands of names, students, teachers, journalists, union members, clergy, artists. What kind of list is this? Asked Dio. Traore's face darkened as he examined the list. Threat list, everyone who might oppose the new regime. Look, said Aminata. showing a page. There are codes next to names K to B. Closed T be arrested as ex-exile, A to B. Killed how many have O next to them? Asked Kabor Amanat, counted 47 people, including journalists, judges, opposition, leaders, and me said Traore showing his own name first on the list the 16th. Suitcase contains satellite photos and maps every corner of Burkina Faso. Every strategic point was depicted in detail. These are military satellite images, said Cabaret. The resolution is so high you can read license plates here, said Traore, showing a map. All our military bases are marked, our weapons depots, fuel tanks, ammunition stores, invasion plans, said Amanata. Everything is ready, they're just waiting for orders before opening the 17th and final suitcase. Trey took a deep breath. This is the last one, he said. Let's see what surprises it has. When the suitcase was opened, there was only one file inside, thick black covered, written in gold letters, Operation Sankara Secret. Trey took the file. His hands trembled slightly. Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso's legendary leader, had been killed in 1987, and now 36 years later he opened the first page. At the top was the date, October 15th, 1987, the day Sankara was killed. Operation Sankara. Traore began reading. Objective: elimination of Thomas Sankara and installation of a pro-Western government. The room fell into silence. Everyone held their breath, listening. Participants: French Secret Service DGSE, CIA Liaison Officer Blawan Carey, and 12 Burkina Bay officers. Method: armed assault during palace meeting, killing of Sankara and 12 comrades. Result: operation successful. Blaise Carey brought to power. French interests secured. Traore turned the pages. There were photographs. Sankara's body, bullet holes, blood stains. And look, he said, showing the last pages. Operation Sankara Phase 2, date 2023 to 2024. Target: Ibrahim Traoré. Objective: elimination of Traoré, who continues Sankara's legacy. Method: first, political pressure if unsuccessful, economic embargo as last resort, physical elimination. Preparation: purchase of 17 high-level Burkina Bay officials. Preparation of Laurent Compere as backup leader. Budget €50 million. Approval received from Paris. Operation active. Traoré closed the file. His face was expressionless, but there was deep sadness in his eyes. 36 years, he said. 36 years later, the same scenario, same method, same killers. Du Bois stood up. I didn't know about these, I swear. Just the suitcases. Be quiet, said Traore. It's not time to talk anymore. He turned to Cabaret. Colonel, everyone on the 17 name list will be arrested immediately. Their homes, offices will be searched. Their assets will be seized. Yes, sir. Aminata. Extraordinary Parliament meeting tomorrow morning. These documents will be shown to the MPs. The people will learn everything. Understood, Mr. President. DIO. The airport will be closed. No one can enter or leave. All flights can let as you command. Finally, he turned to Du Bois. You, Ambassador, I'll give you one chance, just one chance. Du Bois, look, hopefully you'll return to Paris, but not alone. I'm sending a message with you. Copies of the 17 suitcases, every document, every photograph, every audio recording, and you'll deliver this message. Traoré walked toward the window outside. Dawn was about to break. The African sun was beginning to appear on the horizon. Burkina Faso is no longer a colony. Our gold, our uranium, our oil are ours. You cannot buy our people with blackmail, threats, money. You killed Thomas Sankara, but you couldn't kill his ideas. He turned to Du Bois, and finally, tell Laurent Compere and his friends, let them come. We're ready, but this time the result will be different. What if France reacts? Asked Du Bois. Economic sanctions, military intervention. Let them come, said Traoré. It's not 1987 anymore. Africa is awakening. Mali, Guinea, Niger, we're all together, and the world is watching. At 6 a.m. Burkina Faso national television interrupted its broadcast. Traoré appeared on screen. Behind him 17 suitcases were lined up. Dear citizens, he began tonight we witnessed one of the most important events in our history. 17 suitcases were seized. I will share their contents with you for the next 2 hours. Traore showed the contents of each suitcase one by one. Documents, photographs, money, weapons. Everything was shown live to the whole world. 17 suitcases, he said finally. 17 million, 17 traders, but we are 17 million. Burkina, and now we are awake. When the broadcast ended, there were thousands of people on the streets of Ouagadougou with flags, banners in their hands. Long live independence. Zero down with colonialism. Component placement. Sankara's children are awakening in Paris. Crisis meetings were being held. The French president was angry. This is unacceptable. We must intervene immediately. But the foreign minister was more cautious. Mr. President, the whole world is watching. The evidence is very clear. If we intervene, we'll lose all of Africa. So what will we do? Will we do nothing? Shouted the defense minister. We'll wait, said an old diplomat, and hope that other African countries don't do the same. But was too late. Burkina Faso's courage had created a domino effect in Mali. President Ibrahim Traoré called an emergency meeting. All French company contracts will be reviewed, he said, and strict inspections will begin at our airports in Niger. Thousands of young people took to the streets. We want 17 suitcases too, they shouted. Our uranium is ours. Similar movements began in Guinea, Senegal, Ivory Coast. Africa's young leaders were inspired by Traoré's courage. An emergency session was called at the United Nations. The French representative spoke. This is a violation of diplomatic immunity. It's against international law. The Burkina Faso representative stood up. He had files in his hand. Mr. President, what does international law say about stealing sovereign countries' resources? What does it say about controlling their leaders with blackmail? What does it say about killing Thomas Sankara? There was silence in the hall. Here's the evidence, said the representative, placing the files on the table. The contents of the 17 suitcases. Let everyone see, let everyone know. The Chinese representative took the floor. We support Burkina Faso's sovereignty rights, the Russian representative added. The age of colonialism has ended. Those who don't accept this will remain in history. The U.S. representative remained silent, could neither openly support France nor Burkina Faso. Strategic ambiguity. That evening there was a public celebration in Ouagadougou. Fires were lit in the squares, drums were played, songs were sung. An old man was crying, holding Thomas Sankara's photograph. We waited 36 years, he was saying. Finally justice has been served. A young woman spoke into the microphone. My father works in a mine. He gets $2 a day. The value of the gold he extracts is $10,000. Now this will change. A group of students was chanting, education will be free, health care will be free, because our resources are ours. In the palace, Traore was tired but determined. The cabinet meeting continued. What happens tomorrow? Asked the defense minister. France won't stand idle. We're prepared, said Traore. We have a defense agreement with Mali and Niger. Russia and China promise support, and most importantly, our people are with us. Economic sanctions? Asked the economy minister. We have gold, said Traore. We have uranium. Soon we'll have oil. We'll print our own currency. We'll establish our own bank. We'll create a common market with the African Union. What about the traders inside? Asked the Interior Minister. 17 people in custody, said Cabaret. Interrogations continue. So far they've given 50 more names. The network is bigger than we thought. We'll clean them all, said Traore, but they'll be judged fairly. We're not like them. We're a state of law. At midnight, when Traore was alone, he went out to the balcony. Ouagadougou stretched beneath its lights. Celebration sounds were still coming. He took out a small photograph from his pocket. Thomas Sankara's photograph. We did it, Commander, he whispered. Late, but we did it the next Morning French newspapers showed Traore in their headlines as dictator thief, terrorist, but no one believed anymore. Images of the 17 suitcases had gone viral on social media. The number 17 suitcases hashtag trended worldwide. Debates began in the European Parliament. Progressive MPs criticized France. We're in the 21st century. Are you still doing colonialism? Conservative MPs went on the defensive. These are Africa's own internal affairs. But the truth was, Pandora's box had been opened, and it would never close again. A week later, there was a surprise development. A delegation came from France, led by an old diplomat, Pierre Foucault, grandson of Jacques Foucault. We want to talk, he said. We want to open a new page. Traore accepted. But he had conditions. The talks will be broadcast live. My people will see everything. Foucault had to accept. When the talks began, Traore took the first word. First, let's face the past. You had Thomas Sankara killed. Do you admit? Foucault spoke after a long silence. In the past, mistakes were made. Mistakes. Traore raised his voice. Is killing a leader a mistake? Okay, said Foucault. Yes. France played a role. We're sorry. This confession was broadcast live to the whole world. It was a historic moment. Now, let's look to the future, said Traore. Burkina Faso is a sovereign country. Our resources are ours. Do you accept this? Yes, said Foucault. We accept. All mining contracts will be cancelled. New ones will be made under fair conditions. Do you accept? We can discuss, said Foucault. No, said Tay. No discussion. Do you accept? Foucault called Paris after a long phone conversation. He returned. We accept. Your military bases will be closed. Your soldiers will leave our country. This is unacceptable, said Foucault. Then the talks are over, said Traore, standing up. Wait, said Foucault. Okay, we accept. And so, after hours of talks, a historic agreement was signed. Burkina Faso gained full independence, but the story wasn't over. A month later, Laurent Compere tried to cross the Burkina Faso border with 200 mercenaries. Goal, stage a coup, overthrow Traore, but Traore was prepared. Intelligence had reported everything in advance. An ambush was set at the border. The clash was brief. The mercenaries surrendered. Laurent Compere was captured. In court, Carey confessed everything. France gave money, gave weapons, promised support, but they lied. They left me alone. 6 months after the 17 suitcases incident, Burkina Faso's economy showed unexpected growth. Revenues from gold exports were returning to the people for the first time. A school was built in every village. A health center was opened in every neighborhood. Job opportunities were created for unemployed youth. Agricultural projects were started. The international press was amazed. The Burkina Faso miracle, they wrote. TR said in speech, there's no miracle. We're just using our own resources ourselves. It's that simple. The 17 suitcases were moved to a museum. It was named National Independence Museum. Hundreds of visitors came every day. Schools brought students. An old teacher was explaining to students, here children, in these suitcases was our country's stolen future. But our president took it back. A little girl asked, Teacher, will the French come again? The teacher smiled. Even if they come, we're awake now. We won't sleep again. And indeed, Burkina Faso never slept again. The 17 suitcases weren't just money and documents. They were a symbol of awakening resistance. Victory. Years later, history books would write the 17 suitcases incident was the beginning of Africa's second independence movement. The first independence was political. The second was economic, and this time it was real. Traore went down in history as the leader who opened the 17 suitcases, but he always said, I just opened the suitcases. The real work was done by my people. They woke up, claimed ownership, fought. The victory is theirs. And Burkina Faso once again lived up to its name, land of upright people. 17 suitcases, 17 million, 17 traitors, but in the end one truth. Freedom. That night at the airport, it wasn't just suitcases that were opened. A nation's eyes were opened. and they would. Never close. Again the last word belonged to a little girl looking at the 17 suitcases in the museum. She asked her mother, "Mom, is our gold ours now?" "Yes, my daughter," said her mother, "it's ours now forever." Forever. And the little girl smiled, because she knew she now had a future, a real future, a free future opened by 17 suitcases.